So today's topic is something that I pulled off of Reddit. So the title of the post was Many Lost and Misguided Men. Now, the reason why this caught my attention, partly because there was only a few comments on it. However, the amount of comments that were on the post were of good quality. So I decided to read through the post and engage with understanding some of the comments and some of the point of views. So I'm not going to read the entire post. I think that's a little bit drawn out, a little bit too much. So I'm going to paraphrase what this post was about and then kind of explain where things went from there. So the individual who posted, he was responding to another Reddit post, and the essence of the post was about a man who was speaking about his personal dilemma that he was having when confronted by his wife about some of his male traits that were perceived to be harmful. Now, I did not read the original post, so I do not know exactly what that post said, what was the thoughts, the feelings, the attitudes behind that post. However, I was just reading this sub post of what this individual was saying. And throughout his post, he was explaining that he had a realization that there was a big struggle with the individual who created the original post in regards to feelings of uncertainty, not knowing where to turn, not knowing who to turn to, or the best avenue or approach as far as discussing how he felt. And instead of being shamed for some of the things that he felt that were probably genuine concerns, he just didn't know where to go. As the post continues, the individual explains how, unfortunately, a portion of these individuals, males for this post, get mixed up into certain thoughts and beliefs that then gear them towards certain subgroups that end up pressing issues that generally shouldn't be issues. So the way I summarize this is that individuals tend to weaponize their feelings, their insecurities, their uncertainties, and then they outlash on certain groups of individuals. So say, for instance, let's talk about conservatives and liberals. Just throwing that out there. Some men, unfortunately, find themselves in grounds of uncertainty, unknown purpose. So they end up strolling on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and they see certain individuals who are bashing certain groups, which then ends up turning into them aligning with a false belief or a false attitude in order to fill that void of their insecurity, which then in turns perpetuates the problem of the whole toxic masculinity, false male traits, and it just generates a system that inherently continues the problem. So at the end of the post, some of the comments, I'm not going to go through the comments, but what I will explain is that it showed that there was extreme sides on both ends. And the only thing that does suffer are those positive male traits, the things that are inherently good about men that unfortunately get turned into negative, or should I say perceived negative traits, because they get pushed to an extreme. So everything sits, you have things that sit in the middle where generally most males are, or most people are, and then you have outliers, you have extremes. And those extremes, unfortunately, are highlighted more than the mass. All right. Another good one was that there is wisdom and understanding, and every man who has understanding knows wisdom. And I believe that's a very big thing, because in turn, if you understand wisdom and you're able to decipher whether or not you need to engage in certain topics, whether you need to engage with somebody who's outlashing towards you or speaking to something that they don't know about, and you're able to discern that and then understand that you can back away from that situation, and not every situation deserves your response or your attention, I believe that's a pretty big thing. So what did I take away from just reading this small post? Point number one is just understanding that we all don't have it put together. Like we may think that we do, or we may have a slight understanding that we know how to move in a direction, but we don't have it figured out. Even the best individuals, you would say, in this area don't have it all figured out. And it's all about learning, and it's all about developing, and it's all about the process. It's not about the destination, it's always about the journey. The second point that I took away from this is that you have to humble yourself. You have to humble yourself, and you have to be studious. Like, you have to be able to want to learn and build on every positive outcome and every negative outcome. And I understand, you have individuals that believe in the glass is half full and individuals who believe the glass is half empty. And there has to be a buffer in between that. You can't be overly optimistic and you can't be super pessimistic. So you have to find where you are, where is your base level at, and how do you balance out that cup, right? So you have to be studious, and you have to take time for yourself for self-reflection, and don't weaponize your emotions. Sometimes you get caught up, things are moving too fast, and you believe that a problem has turned into a time to react, when really it's just a time to just reflect, to sit down and relax and say, this situation, this problem, or this issue does not demand my time and my energy at this point. So I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to bring myself back to level so that I can address this problem accordingly. And the third point that I took away from reading all this stuff was that results take action despite not wanting to engage in change. And it's difficult. As a man in this day and age, it's difficult to want to change. You want things to be the same. Why? Because it's comfortable. Homeostasis, that's what we look for as humans. That's what we look for, is to be comfortable. And whether we say that with the way we live, I just want a comfortable life, or I want enough money to be comfortable. We always want to be comfortable, but the realization is that comfortable is, in essence, the equivalent of dying. Once you become too comfortable, you either have to figure out, why do I find myself being so comfortable? Why do things seem to be just nonchalantly going about the way that they are? If you're not looking out for challenges, if you're not looking out for ways to learn, if you're not looking out for ways to be better, how to strive for a better you, a better version of yourself, so that you can be that better husband, that better boyfriend, that better father, that better uncle or cousin, or whatever that might be, coworker, whoever that might be, the person that you have structured in your mind. If you're not striving to do that, then what is your purpose? All right. I think that's the reason why some individuals fall into these misguided groups, is because they're searching for purpose, but they're looking outwardly for that purpose instead of inwardly for that purpose. Another thing that I took away was that, especially with change, we have to understand that we're challenging a lot of the institutional constructs that we've been programmed since we were little kids, understanding that this is what your role is and this is what your role is, and there is no deviating from it. In order to be a man, you have to be strong, and you can't show weakness, and you can't cry, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. I think a lot of those things are geared towards putting us men into blocks and into sections and to control us. And that's not to say that, we as men should just run out and just cry all of our emotions and our feelings and act outside of ourselves. But what I'm saying is that there's a safe time and there's a safe place, and there should be safe groups that you should be able to get into in order to express these things, so that you're able to continue to grow in yourself and that you just become an overall better person. And the last thing that I took is that you always have to continue to work on your personal and spiritual development. There are other things that you do need to work on, absolutely. But if you cannot deal with the internal conflicts that you have personally, and you can't grow from that, and you're not able to grow spiritually and find out that there are things that are outside of yourself that are way more important, and that you just play a strategic role in everything that goes on, you'll find yourself trying to exert your insecurities, your misguided feelings onto others, which then is just not the desired outcome. It's not what you intended it to be. So it's like that old line: either you die the hero, or you live long enough to become the villain. And you have to find out, where do you fit in between that. So I enjoyed going through this post, partly because, number one, I don't do it a lot. I don't go onto Reddit. I don't engage in a lot of the topics that get put on there. But this morning, something just told me, hey, how about we just go through some of these posts? So I just typed in, I think I put in like toxic masculinity traits or something like that, just to see what kind of stuff gets generated on there. And surprisingly enough, there was a lot of decent posts on there about people explaining, as a man, how difficult navigating through this time in life is. So it was just interesting to be able to go through all that stuff, read some of the comments, and not see as much as you would think hate was on there. Like, there wasn't a whole lot. There was a lot of support, and it looked like there were a lot of men who were trying to band together and trying to challenge this narrative that, that all men think the same. So that was something good. And I think, this might be something that I might do. I wouldn't probably say daily, but I think I'm probably going to do it maybe at least once a week. Go through a Reddit post that's more geared towards men, and kind of some of the social issues that we have, some of the dilemmas that we have going through this day and age, and trying to figure out, where do we find ourselves as men in this space, and trying to shed some light on what directions should be taken and what would be the best avenue. Hopefully I could find some posts that are a little bit more in depth, that provoke some more challenging questions and some more debate and discussion, so that we all can engage and we all can learn and grow and be better. So thank you for allowing me to take up your time with this. And if you feel that there are individuals out there that need to hear this message, be sure to share it.